Good morning, grandkids. Well, I haven't been writing in my story about Dorkly the Young Wizard for a while, and I'm down to the very last chapter that I have written so far. This is chapter 44. I got to get myself busy. What's the date? Okay. Dorkly quickly made 2 bottles of invisibility potion and picked a few bottles of them off of the shelf which he had brought from his father's spire. I think I'm going to move into his place, he said to himself. I need the room. You know how he's always dropping everything on the floor because these bookcases are too full. He laughed at himself, realizing that he'd have to haul all his dad's stuff back over there that he'd brought over after he died. Maybe I'll find a magical, easier way to do that. He rushed out of the palace and was quickly searching for William. He finally saw him down a lane of many tables and stalls in the market. A few flakes of snow was falling, and he was glad he had donned a hooded, warm cloak. He hid in a concealed doorway and swallowed one of his potions that makes him invisible. As he felt it take effect, he looked down at his hands, feeling them, but seeing nothing. He stepped out of the doorway and hurried toward William. He saw that he was still talking with the mystery woman. Greta, William said, as I insinuate myself into the court and Conley's inner circle, and you start becoming a lady here in the city, moving up in high standing, how long do you think it would be before we could get rid of any baby descendants of the king and to get rid of the king? I think I have acquired a lot of soldiers, probably enough to overtake all the king's soldiers in a down and dirty fight. Do you think we're getting close enough to start getting this job done? Oh, yes, Greta said, her eyes sparkling. You've given Othello enough of that potion, waning death, to kill a horse, much less her and the baby. We've got to get this done before that Lady Inez winds up pregnant. I heard rumors that she's moving in with Conley, so we can't take too long to get this job done. You've got to make sure that you are in a position with the king and advisors to be accepted as king upon Conley's death. Everything else needs to be handled first. We need to make sure that the son, Dermis, is out of the way also, William said. Even though he supposedly doesn't want to be king, he is next in line. It does seem like enough deaths would have to occur to be too conspicuous, Greta said with a worried frown. Othello and the baby is already well documented by the healer, Father Dunner. Dermis could easily have an accident while out riding on his horse. That would just leave the king. And if we get this done before Inez turns up pregnant, William said, wiggling his eyes. By this time, Dorkly could feel his invisibility potion wearing off. He popped another one quickly. He needed to dash to the king, but now that they had I almost couldn't read my own writing, kid. But now that they had gotten to the part about the king, he needed to wait and hear this. Greta said, well, I have some underground friends on the mainland. We could hire an undercover killer to infiltrate down here and take out the king without it even being connected with us at all. I know a man there that would be perfectly willing to do such a job as kill king for the right amount of money. Great, then our job is about done, William said. I can easily find a kid in the Burg of Corkscrew mine to do something to the saddle on the horse Dermis rides. I have a meeting to get to right now. The king's advisors are meeting tomorrow to put on record the person who would take the king's throne. I can't even ride my own riding, kids. In case of the king's death and no heirs, I and 2 others have been chosen in 2 days, there will be a meeting for discussion and then a vote. I and the other 2 have, of course, been asked to step out into a waiting room during the vote, but I have done a lot of slapping hands and passing money, if you know what I mean, so I'm not really worried about getting the vote. Since Othello is already dying, that won't look like it has anything to do with this. We just have to take care of the job with Dermis's horse. He looked at Greta and said softly, "How does it feel, almost being Queen of Blue Haven, when I become king?" She smiled with a fake, shy attitude and plucked out the sides of her pants, made a gentle dip, and said, "An honor, my king. I will serve well with you." Dorkly, feeling his visibility returning again, slugged down another invisibility potion and took off. He was scared, afraid, and angry. He first ran to Major Bonester. "Major, the king had me spying on William and that woman. Her name is Greta, by the way. They are the ones who poisoned Othello, and they are planning the death of Lord Dermis and then the king. Arrest them now. I'm going to the king and make sure that the guards are tight around him and Inez. Hurry." Bonester asked no questions, gathered his men, and took off for the main square. Weapons were in hand, and anyone who dared stand in their way would be arrested also. Dorkly took off for the palace doors, ran in, grabbing some of the guards on his way to the king's quarters. He rushed in, breathless and in a hurry to tell the king all he had heard. The king made him sit down and poured him a drink as Dorkly went on. He told Connolly of their plans and that Othello and the baby would be dead at their hands. He told the king that Prince Dermis was in danger and should be kept in the palace, guarded with him and Inez. "They are planning to usurp the throne, my king," Dorkly almost shouted. "I have Connolly on his way to arrest them as we speak." And he slugged down his whole decanter of mead. When he set it down, he and the king just stared at one another, dumbstruck. That was a little short today, and for some reason it was hard for me to read. I think I scribbled too much, and I think I didn't edit it before I started to read it. Sorry. And that's the last one I've written. I'm so behind. So I'll get caught up between now and next Friday, and I'll see you all then. Bye-bye, grandkids.